Hi, Nick Collier here, and this is my shop. Come join me. We'll have some
Okay,
fun.
so here's what we need. Well, let me get this burr off here. So we need to put these two together and keep them even. Because the last time I welded it, it was just slightly off, and we'll do it that way so you can see it. And so the thing wobbled, and we can't have a wobble when we're doing threads. So what I've done is I've cut the exact size of the shaft to fit the sleeve, and then also put a little reduced diameter in there so that when we weld it or when we silver solder it, it doesn't attach itself in that little spot. And then we just get this on, and that's got a sharp edge on it, so we're going to knock that off first. And it's just a little snug on that one. So there we go. Pretty smooth. I think we're going to get a good weld on that. Let's have a look and make sure here. Yeah, I'm not seeing any problem. I mean, the outside's a little wobbly, but it's the inside that counts. Let's see if maybe we rotate it just a little bit. That's a little better. I think we're going to go with just that, and we're going to create just a little bit of a space in between them. So we've got some solder that we can slide in there. And I think we're set to go. So let's go into the jewelry studio and weld these guys up. We'll be back. Okay, so we've got our piece here sitting here, and I think what we're going to do is paint it with boric acid. First we got to find a brush. And the boric acid will keep it from, will keep the oxygen from causing too much fire scale. I mean, there'll be a little bit, but okay. Good start. And maybe we paint the ends too. And I just like to put a little dab of solder right on the joint, and when it starts to get to temperature, the solder melts and I can add a little bit more. And I think that's going to just pretty much be about it. Did we get a take on the backside? It's hard to tell, but what we'll do is when we put the arm at 90 degrees, we'll weld it to this backside, and that way we'll know for sure. That's not going to come apart, of course not. Oh, there it is. Well, we'll stick it in the other room and come up with, take it apart. Let's give it a try here. Maybe we put it in a vise. Yeah, I think that's the key. Yep, comes right off. Nice. Okay, so we've got our piece. It's fairly strong. Looks like it took about 3/4 of the way around. Well, actually, I'm seeing it's took all the way around. Maybe a little bit in the back here it didn't take. And look what that boric acid did. That kind of left the metal still pristine. So let's give it a try. We're gonna put our threaded rods in. There's one, and there's the other. And let's see how close we are. Well, I'd say pretty close. Got a little bit of wobble, but I think we've got enough looseness here that that kind of wobble is not going to be a problem. Oh, actually, once we got this in all the way, it seems to be much better. All right, so that's a good start. I think what we're going to do is go ahead and put it on the lathe and trim this down and taper it and get our little seat in at the edge just in case we need it. And let's go over to the lathe. All right, well, we're going to need to push up against there and create a little compression because it's just sitting on that shaft. So we put a little brass nut in the back here, tighten this up. Tighten our chuck up. And that should give us what we want. Looks pretty good. Okay, come on in. Okay, that's nice and even. We can take it off the mandrel now. Okay, it's not going to come off. Let's see here. Take it over to the vise and take it off. Okay, well, we've got our pattern in. We've got the tracer attachment hooked up and all adjusted and ready to rip. And we're gonna bring it over here, and there's our cutting tip. And I think it's time to start cutting. Okay, so here's where we are. I want just a little bit more angle on that, so we're going to adjust our pattern down just a little bit. Let's give that a try. That looks pretty good. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we'll give it a try and see. Well, we got it in the mill. We got it all set up here, and of course I forgot to turn the camera on, but you know, we're not done yet. And let me bring you in closer and show you what we came into that big knob on the end and flattened it out, and then now we're coming in to and creating a radius so that the T can fit inside of that radius. And we're a little short on the width, but I think we're going to be okay. Maybe a little file work or something like that will take care of it. All right, let's see what we can do with that. Yeah, it's just a little shy of it being big enough. I'm thinking you could probably just come in and move it sideways a little bit. All right, that fits pretty good. Okay, let's take it out. Oh yeah, we've got to cut the other side of the knob. That should work out okay. we got our piece cut, and let's see how it's gonna lay in here. I think that's gonna look really nice. I do, of course, I wanted to cut the other 90 degrees off from there, but I didn't. And I don't want to do it over again. So I think we're going to just go with what we've got. And I think that the knob is just a little bit too big. So I think what we can do is just kind of come in by hand and trim it down a little bit and make it a little more petite. So, hey, let's go cut this knob off of the end and trim that back a little bit. And then we're going to weld this to this. And we've got ourselves a handle ready to go. I don't know. I'm not real happy with that. Maybe we can just grab it with the jaws of the lathe and trim that off. All right, let's see if we can get it. Not so much. Okay. We may have to cut a whole nother one. I'm thinking. All right, let's just go for it. Much better. Okay, now let's take this and put it over in the mill and cut our slot and then cut it off and we'll be set to go. All right, we're back. We've got it in, we've got it squared up with the parallel. We're going to come in behind this and trim out the slot. Somewhere in that general area. Let's see how we're doing center-wise. I'd say that looks pretty centered. Let's give her a try. Ah, good fit. Perfect. Okay. Pull that out. Nice and even. We'll go over on the grinder and cut that down a little bit. Okay, so we've got our piece in place. We've got boric acid over everything and we've got flux around the joints. And now we're going to use easy solder. And we're going to use the bigger torch. Okay. Are we ready? Let's see if we can get this down to closer to level. Can you see that? You can't. How's that? Better? And I think that's pretty much going to do it. I think that looks pretty good. And we'll take this outside and let it cool down, and we will be well, there's our piece. Now it's got a bunch of flux and all kinds of stuff. Looks like it's got a bunch of flux and all kinds of stuff on there, some boric acid. So what we're going to do is drop it in the acid for probably the rest of the day, and take it out maybe later this evening or tomorrow morning, and all of this fluxes will be gone, and it will pretty much eaten away any of the scale that's sitting on top of that. Well, most of it. So let's do that. Okay, well, we've cut, I don't know, maybe several dozen, no, probably 6 or 8 of these little hex heads. And this is as close as we've come to what we want. Now, I went in here earlier and realized that my hex head is off center from the shaft. And if we're going to do a socket that's going to accept this hex head, then we got to be dead center. So we're going to start again, and the other thing we're going to do is round off each of the edges of the hex, because when we come in to do the receiver part, it doesn't matter how small of a bit I'm going to use, that bit is going to create a round at the edges of the hexes. So we're going to come in, we're going to leave probably about 1/4 inch or so we can put this in a collet in the lathe and turn the other side, and it'll be exactly equal to the hex. So let's get moving. Somewhere in that general area, we'll come in and we'll kiss the top, and then I'm gonna just go down like like 10 thousandths maybe, just to see what's gonna happen. I don't want to go too far. All right, let's give it a try. Oh, not at that speed though. Something like, well, that's probably a little fast. Okay, well, we just had ourselves a little hailstorm, so I took a break and went outside and checked it out. Hailstorm in April. All right, let's get rolling. Well, we know that's not going to be enough. So let's go another 10 just to see what it looks like. That's probably going to do something. Still not a whole lot. Another 5 just for fun. Let's give that a break. Flip it over. and see what we got. Well, I'll be damned. That was too far down. Okay. So what we can do is just flip this over and put this inside, because we're going to turn this end down anyhow. And of course, that means taking the whole thing out and dinking around with it. All right. Well, we flipped it around, and now we're on the other end of it. We brought it back up 10 thousandths. And let's see what that does. And we're going to take our time this time. Well, that's just about perfect. It leaves just about, oh, what a 40 thousandths, 30 thousandths little radius right there. So I say we go with that. Flip it again. It was. So that's just about right. We've got just a little bit on each one of them, and that should give us plenty of room. Now we still have, you know, this amount here that will give us allow us to put it in the collet chuck. We'll be back. All right, well, we're just going to put a couple of center holes in this, and we'll just use the little lathe to do it. All right, done deal. That was easy. let's Okay, now let's go. That whole approach, I mean, it works somewhat, but not totally, and so we need to step back a couple of yards and punt. So what I've done is I've come in and I've cut a smaller hex at the end of this, and now what I want to do, and the washer thing worked, except that it didn't hold it tight enough. So what I want to do is I want to put some ribbing on the washer, and then set the washer up so that it is hexed and indexes into that, so that when this thing gets pulled up against the metal, it kind of grips the metal, and hopefully that's going to hold it a little bit tighter. So we've got ourselves set up on the mill and with the super spacer. Let's go over there and check it out. All right, so what we want to do is we're just going to put a hex in, not even 1/8 of an inch, but we're going to go down probably, almost a quarter, just to give ourselves plenty of room. And so we're going to put that hex in to fit that smaller hex there. And we're all set up and ready to rip. First thing I got to do is drill a hole. And we go back to our 0. There's 0.